Quick announcement before the video starts, all music in this video is made by Mario Brandt. Check out the portfolio on this channel's about page. And okay, now to the video. For the people that already follow this channel for a while, you might have heard me mention that I'm not actually someone who works with video for a living, which does help explain the lack of prowess in my editing skills. But anyway, what I do for a living is music. I'm a musician. And while I could go on and on here about why I love this subject and enter in detail about music theory and history, there's a side to being a musician that I've always found fascinating. You see, very often in music you have to work with other people. For example, playing all instruments in a master's level is an almost impossible task, and therefore you normally join with others who have mastered their skill in order to do whatever it is you want. But if any sitcom that takes place at a workspace has taught us anything, is that working with other people is fucking hard. Most of the times in life, people who have gathered at the same endeavor will have the same objective: make the company grow, win the championship, make a great song. But the way people will want to do it differs immensely. Not to mention when personal relationships start getting into the mix, which, oh boy. And if you look at the history of bands, you'll see just how common this kind of trouble is. There's absolutely no shortage of stories of band breakups or feuds, as evidenced by this quick Google search I've done. Give it a long enough time and that small crack, that tiny issue that you had no big problem with, becomes a big freaking deal. Or maybe some new event comes to shake the status quo of the band. I don't know. And it does not take many people for this to happen. Most bands featured in this feuds list have less than 7 members, and really 2 people is all you need for things to go south. Now, if a group that small gathered to make music can be a source of so much trouble, imagine if this group gets bigger. Imagine if in that group who has to play together you have divisions in groups, not only of instruments but of family of instruments. And in those groups there's a hierarchy, and on top of that you put a clear leader, or sometimes just a boss. What you get is an orchestra. For those who just go to concerts as a leisure time activity, you may have no idea the amount of gossip and conflict present in orchestras. After all, these issues don't end up in any tabloid, but they are there. And as third-grade journalism will not show them, let's leave to art to do this job. And so today I want to explore with you guys a movie that showcases those conflicts and much more. The tiny masterpiece by Federico Fellini, Orchestra Rehearsal. As this is a Fellini movie, it is very funny, especially if you are a musician with some experience with the inner workings of an orchestra. The stereotypes are all there. Cello players have a fetish with chairs, the oboe player has no sense of humor, the percussionists act like the cool kids who are from the outside, and the violinists are akin to opera divas, just without the singing. And this is all well and good, but this movie is more than just funny and quite frankly accurate gags. It tells the story of an orchestra, which is receiving the visit of a TV crew in order to record their rehearsal, make interviews, the works. And as the orchestra gets ready to play, the TV crew starts interviewing the members of the orchestra about their particular instruments. Which is a very nice moment. Even though future events of the movie will make you question these people's nature, talking about their instruments is something that the actors convey with genuine joy, something that reminds us of an interesting aspect of work. Even if you land your dream job, if you do what you set out to do and achieve the occupation that gives you the most pleasure, work is still work. There will be bureaucracy. There will be bosses being dicks and situations that will make you uncomfortable. But if someone asks you something about the occupation itself that made you fall in love with it, as is an instrument to a musician, your heart will tell the truth and gratitude will pour out of you. Unless you're the tuba player, in which case. But anyway, the mood changes when the maestro enters the scene. Everybody gets ready as the practice will begin, and as a lot of conductors in yet another stereotype that rings somewhat true, this one is a dick. He is very harsh with the orchestra as mistakes both of execution and of the parts written to the musicians start to occur. The situation starts to get even more chaotic with a little comedic absurdity thrown into the mix. I mean, why not? With situations that get increasingly stranger, including a resounding noise that seems to come from nowhere and shake the place, but that is of little importance to the plot. But before I move to the conclusion of this scene, I want to play a very quick, as to avoid copyright claim, clip of this orchestra playing. See if you can spot anything strange. Did you catch? The actors in the orchestra are not making the minimal effort to mimic what is being played. And this is on purpose, of course. A lot of the times when you see someone playing an instrument in movies, they are not playing it correctly. But most directors try to hide it with camera shots or focusing on dialogue. There are also the ones who make the effort of making the sound and the playing really match. But Fellini just said, you know what, f it, I'm doing the complete opposite. Just make gestures that don't look like you're playing at all. And why is that? Well, I can only speculate, but I think that Fellini is telling us that by focusing in an unimportant aspect of something, we lose sight of what it is we should really focus on. As if you obsess with the wrong movements being made by the actors, you will put the interaction of the conductor with the players, the shaking of the place, and all other important things in second place. And I believe that because of what happens next in the movie. The players start discussing with the maestro, saying that their workers' union does not oblige them to do what the conductor is telling them to do, the union being a topic of debate from the get-go in the movie, with the musicians telling the TV crew that they are not paid to do that and that the union did not state that they would be filmed in their agreement. And how many times has this happened to you? Not the union things, but if you went into any endeavor whatsoever, you must have faced this kind of scenario where people start caring less and less about the reason why they are there and more about the other stuff like contracts, how much are they being paid, and the political relations on the group. And these are all important aspects in any endeavor for sure, but when they eclipse what should be the main goal, that's when you've lost something important. Illustrated by the lament of the conductor saying, I would think less about the syndicate and a little more about the music. To which the orchestra answers. After that, the conductor makes a break out of sheer frustration as the TV crew goes to interview him, which is a very intimate scene where he openly talks about his relation with music and the frustration of being a professional musician. Meanwhile, what's most interesting is what is happening with the orchestra. Some members are fed up, so fed up with the conductor and with the structure of hierarchy in the orchestra, that they begin to riot. Rally cries echo through the chamber as chaos becomes the norm. People start fighting, screaming, burning things. They start to make out, scream even more, fight even more, while others just continue the interview as if nothing is happening. All the while, the rumbling that has been present in the movie, the entire movie, becomes ever more present, ever louder, ever stronger. And this culminates in the members of the orchestra bringing a giant metronome to replace the conductor. Now, is this action important to the point I'm trying to make in this video? Probably not. But I'd be remiss not to bring this up for just how funny it is and for the many times I've heard orchestra musicians complain about conductors and say that all they would need is a metronome. Anyway, the chaos continued to ramp up. There are now people against the metronome and those for it who begin to fight each other, fights ever more violent. And just when you think that there will be no stop to this, the rumble reveals its origin. It is a wrecking ball, which comes through and stops, out of shock, the mess that was being made. People are now beginning to quiet down, and they realize what I believe to be the movie's main message, as before alluded on the comment about the instruments being played. If you concern yourself too much on the other secondary aspects of your endeavor, you'll miss something so important, that very thing, the foundation that brought you to this endeavor in the first place, is demolished. Sure, you may be irritated by how the hierarchy is structured, and you should not be 100% complacent to it, but trying to upheave everything all at once will not bring a satisfying result, and will destroy what you sought to change and make better with your revolt. The conductor then gives his speech to close this realization. He says, "The notes save us. Music saves us." And so, with the help of the others, the rehearsal goes on. They play through an entire piece beautifully. and when silence comes, the conductor starts lambasting the orchestra and starts to scream all over again. Yes, hierarchy is there, and yes, the endeavor is on its way, but that does not mean that assholes won't be assholes. And that's the message of this movie. Somewhat. But that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching and listening to myself, and please do consider subscribing and leaving a like, because those things really help the channel grow. And also, if you liked this video or if you didn't like this video, please comment below your opinions on Orchestra Rehearsal and on other things in general. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much, and until the next one.